Hello everyone. Welcome back to SAS videos by Stock Market Astrology Stats. Today, we will share some fun and insightful stats on the stock market experience of people on curated data, based on their Ketu position in all houses in natal chart. First of all, we want to inform you that all contents shared are only for entertainment of general public. Contents are not to be considered as any sort of recommendation or advice. This video is not intended to promote any actions in capital market. Also, all data that is used in this video are publicly shared data with SAS team and are subjected to lot of noise and errors. No private data of any person is fetched or will be shared through channel. We have already done stats video for Rahu, so there was no need to do for Ketu, as Rahu Ketu is always linked. But since it's been more than a year and we have more than double the data compared to what we had for Rahu, so we thought let's make a rerun for Ketu. Let's check if there is any changes to pattern compared to what we had for Rahu. During the last 1 year there has been a great change in stock market ecosystem. More people got added to markets. But the most important factor was that there was a terrific bull run in some countries. So, stats like returns, average age, satisfaction etc. has some changes compared to Rahu. But overall pattern for house placements remains the same as Rahu. This terrifies and excites us at the same time, which forces us to make an assumption. This can be a great assumption. In bull markets, Ketu behaves like Rahu, and in bear markets, Rahu behaves like Ketu. We are saying this again as this can be the greatest assumption we have ever made on stock markets. In bull markets, Ketu behaves like Rahu, and in bear markets, Rahu behaves like Ketu. So let's begin with the stats for Ketu. This chart shows the cumulative returns of all houses for quick check and comparison. We were able to collect about 1715 plus records and returns until first week of February 2024. Not everyone are completely sure about their planet positions or the current investment performance. Some people just shared their approximate date of birth and we had to calculate it using software. Regarding their stock market performance, mostly it's a ballpark figure from their memory. We have also averaged out numerical values to round figures for simplicity. So, what's the overall stats for Ketu in all houses? The best 4 houses are the first house with 20.5% return, 8th house with 19.5% return, and both 4th and 5th house with 18% return. The difference between houses are narrow. It shows us the insight that performance of masses are not very far off from the performance of benchmark indices. The last 3 houses are the 3rd house with 9.5% return, 11th with 10.5% and the 7th house with 11.5% return. Why did people with these 3 positions had such underperformance on bulk data? Honestly, we don't know. Now, this may not mean that people with Ketu in these 3 positions will not get good returns in stock market. There is huge volatility and position of remaining planets may also make big difference in returns. In certain cases, due to some big, over or under performance of few records, the overall performance of the house gets averaged down or averaged up. The overall stats for Ketu has been quite a lot of surprises. Nobody here at SAS videos expected to see 1st and 8th house on top. An even bigger surprise was, nobody expected 3rd and 11th house to come at last 2 places. This is one beauty of collecting data and running some simple stats. The performance of remaining houses were to a large extent in line with expectation. One of our colleague said, 3rd is where Ketu is naturally debilitated. So 3rd coming at last signifies, in stock market they need to be very careful, especially during bull to neutral markets. So good positioning of Ketu in 3rd gives no additional benefit in stock markets and may give pitfalls. 8th is natural co-ruling for Ketu. So, Ketu doing pretty good in 8th house is no surprise. Stock markets do have some occult nature ingrained into it. But beware during bear markets. Our second colleague remarked, Speed has become a big advantage in modern stock markets. We are living in a world of high-frequency trading and algo trading. So, naturally people with Ketu in 7th house, with the ability to take intuitively good quality decisions has become stronger in stock markets. We checked this remark and found that 3 high-frequency and algo traders had Ketu in 7th house. And over the last 3 years, they had excellent performance compared to others as we had a bull market over the last 3 years. They need to be extra careful when markets starts to show signs of bear markets or cases for large drawdowns. Now let's move on to see some stats related to each individual house. Ketu in the 1st house. We recorded 146 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 20.5% return. This is the best performing house. The average age at which they join stock market is 23. So these people are very quick to join stock markets. At 105%, most people are more satisfied than expected. Ketu in the 2nd house. People who have Ketu in 2nd house does better when they join markets at lows, as Ketu behaves like Rahu in bear markets. Starting trading at tops to neutral markets can be dangerous to people with Ketu in 2nd house. We recorded 138 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 16.5% return. This is an above normal return. The average age at which they joined stock market is 25. When it comes to satisfaction, we got a 80% value, which is okay. Ketu in the 3rd house. We recorded 140 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 9.5% return. This is the worst performing house in records. Naturally 3rd is Gemini. So, people with Ketu in 3rd or Gemini needs to be extra careful. Similar to 2nd, the average age at which they joined stock market is 25. At 55%, only half of the people are satisfied with their stock market experience. This is understandable, considering surprise underperformance of 3rd house. Ketu in the 4th house. We recorded 144 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 18% return. This is the 3rd best performing house, along with 5th. Honestly, nobody expected to see 4th house at 3rd spot. Real world is full of surprises. The average age at which they join stock market is 24. So, they are also quicker to join stock markets. At 105%, most are more than satisfied, with very few exceptions. Few ups, cancelling out, few downs. Lord Ketu in the 5th house. We recorded 141 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 18% return. But beware, this is during a terrific bull rally from largest market fall. This is also 3rd best performing house, along with 4th. The average age at which they joined stock market is 23. This house has the lowest average age along with 8th house. The latest surge in users joining stock market has pushed down average age for most houses including this one. At 120%, this house has the highest satisfaction level. People had better experience than they initially expected. Ketu in the 6th house. We recorded 143 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 15.5% return. This is an average return. Their expectations are very realistic. We can see diversification in asset allocation which seems helped. The average age at which they joined stock market is 28. Almost 75% people with this position are satisfied with their experience. Lord Ketu in the 7th house. We recorded 142 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 11.5% return. This is the 3rd worst performing house. These people needs to be careful to the edge during bull and neutral markets. Extremely bear markets and lows due to catastrophes are good to start their plans. Risky positions seems to backfire a lot for these people. The average age at which they joined stock market is 29. Most said, it took them lot of time to acquire required capital. So, they a bit late to markets than other houses. Satisfaction level stands at 65%. Ketu in the 8th house. We recorded 139 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 19.5% return. This is the second best performing house. The average age at which they joined stock market is 23. So, similar to 5th, they are also very quick to join stock markets. At 105%, most are more than satisfied. Ketu in the 9th house. We recorded 145 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 13.5% return. That's an average return. The average age at which they joined stock market is 28. Bit late than normal. Again, even though returns are not that bad, satisfaction is only 75%. Maybe because they feel underperformed to others. Lord Ketu in the 10th house. We recorded 142 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 14.5% return. This is also a moderate return. By moderate we mean during this bull market. Otherwise 14.5% is an excellent figure. There was a lot of hype and expectation around this house. But stats are not showing anything extraordinary. The average age at which they joined stock market is 25. Satisfaction level stands at 75%. Ketu in the 11th house. We recorded 144 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 10.5% return. This is the second worst performing house. This did surprise many here as SAS videos. Some people with Ketu in 11th house seems to get hit by brutal drawdowns. The hits are extremely brutal. Especially those involved in highly risky investments or trades. The hits mostly seems due to family or external causes. The average age at which they joined stock market is 24. At 50%, this house has the lowest satisfaction. Which is understandable, considering low returns figure. Ketu in the 12th house. We recorded 140 plus entries for this position. On average, people with this position clocked about 12.5% return. It's okay to normal performance. But bit low considering, we had a terrific bull market last 1 year. The average age at which they joined stock market is 29. So, they are a bit late to markets compared to other houses. At 55%, only about half of people are satisfied with this position. So, that's all for today from Stock Market Astrology Stats. But again, before leaving, we want to say this great assumption we gained. In bull markets, Ketu behaves like Rahu, and in bear markets, Rahu behaves like Ketu. So, all stats we analyzed and discussed above can go for a toss and even may invert during a brutal bear market. Only time can tell that. Till then, wishing everyone a good time. Thank you and God bless.